Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Saints wrapped up their preseason slate last night with the Texans inside Mercedes-Benz Superdome. No, Caesars Superdome. I'll die hard eventually. Caesars Superdome. You know, we know what preseason games are. They are important in some aspects, but any massive takeaways are generally going to be overreactions. It's a glorified practice, and at this point, starters in the NFL just really don't participate. They get some work in early in camp. They get some work in a joint practice one week, maybe a series here or there, first game, third game, whatever the case may be. Most of it is backups, guys trying to make a roster, and even to the point where it's a lot of guys who are going to get cut that are just putting something on tape so maybe somebody else will give them a look sometime down the line. I mean, you realize that they're going from somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 players to 53 in a practice squad. Everybody's cutting 35 guys tomorrow. It's a lot of dudes getting laid off. And those are a lot of the guys taking the reps last night. So I don't have any sort of monster takeaway from last night's game with the Saints. There are a couple of things that did stick out that we'll talk about, and we'll play some Dennis Allen sound. And the first was, of course, the early game sack where Isaiah Foskey got back there and Brian Brzee did the spin move and he got home as well. And that's your first two draft selections getting back there and making a highlight play. Now, is it against the reserve offensive line? Sure. And my takeaway from it was I was just glad for Isaiah Foskey to make that play because we have not had a single media member come on this show and speak positively about Isaiah Foskey since they broke camp. Like, we just have not heard that. Everyone is, yeah, he's a work in progress. Yeah, he's a project. Yeah, he's got a ways to go. Yeah, he struggled a little bit. Like, that's been basically the memo the entire camp. And look, they haven't seen every single thing, and maybe people are being a little bit too hard. Whatever the case may be, it just hasn't been positive. And so for him to get back there and make that play, I thought was great for him. I did see some twitchiness from Brzee, some athleticism from Brzee, and when we heard, some of the sound last week from Malcolm Roach, who was saying, man, this dude is just built different. If we can just get him to hone in on his technique, he's going to be a monster, all that kind of stuff. I enjoyed seeing those two guys. And yesterday, Dennis Allen was asked about the play of Brzee and Foskey in the game.
I thought he was active in the game. I don't know what his final stats were, but I did think he was active in the game, both in against the run and, with the pass rush. So I thought I saw, looked like there was a couple of good things I saw at Isaiah Foskey also in the game. So we got some tough decisions that are coming up. We got a lot of good football players on this team, and we got to make some decisions over the next 48 hours.
Obviously, Brzee and Foskey are going to make the roster. And what they decide to do with Isaiah Foskey, especially early on, if you don't think he can help you much, is a little bit up for discussion. But Brzee is going to be on the roster, and he'll be a rotational piece early on. Foskey may be a healthy scratch at times. We'll see what the situation is. But I just thought it was really nice to see a flash there. And oftentimes early in a college baseball season, I'll say, look, these first couple of weeks, show me what you can do. I don't know what you can't do based on 3 weeks of baseball. But you can show me something that you can do. If you can throw a fastball 98 miles an hour, you show me you can throw a fastball 98 miles an hour. And on that play, Brian Brzee and Isaiah Foskey showed they could rush the passer against professional linemen and do so with sound technique. Foskey did a little dip and rip and got under, and Brzee hit a little spin move and used a little burst and got back there. And that was good to see for those two guys for sure. I think the biggest talking point, certainly on social media yesterday with the Saints, was the play of Jimmy Graham early. He makes the contested catch down the field. He makes a contested catch in the end zone, and there's just a lot of buzz of, man, this feels like 2014 again. But I let's hear what Dennis Allen had to say about Jimmy Graham, and I'll give you my thoughts.
Probably since the Charger practices, I started to see, some signs of the mental picture that I have of Jimmy Graham. And then again, I saw it this week in practice, and I saw it carry over into the game. So that was a positive.
My take on Jimmy Graham, and I feel like folks have thought I've been hard on Jimmy Graham. It's not been that, well, this guy can't play at all. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you've got a limited roster size, and you've got Juwan Johnson, who's kind of emerging as a really strong pass catcher at that position. You've got Foster Moreau, who's a proven pro, who gives you a little more size that Juwan Johnson doesn't, who can catch the football and block, and if you need him to play some special teams and whatnot, can do it. And he's just a nice asset to your team that Derek Carr's got a relationship with. And then you've got Taysom Hill, who's a gadget guy that plays that position and can kind of do some different things there. My assertion is not that Jimmy Graham can't play at all. It's just that on this roster, could I use that spot for something that gives me a little bit more? And then he goes out there last night and does some really impressive things. And yeah, he makes a catch where he basically boxes out the defender in the end zone and catches a jump ball. I think Foster Moreau can do that. Juwan Johnson's not going to catch one exactly like that, but he can make plays in the end zone. You're not going to get that from Taysom Hill. So if they put him on the roster, I'm not going to just, oh my God, they wasted a spot. This guy stinks. He's old. He can't do anything. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I think they've got a solid tight end group, and maybe they can use some more help at linebacker, in the secondary, on an offensive line that's got some issues on the second team. So it was undoubtedly great for Jimmy Graham last night to make those two catches and do what his role would be. Make no mistake, if he's on this team, he's not an every down player. He's a third down red zone guy who's just really difficult to cover because of the size of his body and the catch radius that he's got. And that's what he showed last night. So that's a really good thing, and I think it makes the decision a little bit more difficult. This, 2 weeks ago when we were talking about a guy who had been arrested and we weren't sure what he could do and what his health situation was, I think that clouded things a good bit. Now, it definitely makes that decision a little bit more difficult for the Saints front office and how they want to handle Jimmy Graham. But no doubt he did a great job last night. So Dennis Allen kind of put a wrap on the preseason last night after the loss to the Texans.
I don't think you're ever where you want to be or where we need to be. We're in a race to improve, getting ready for the opener this, here in 2 weeks from today. But there's a lot of positives with this football team right now. But yet there's certainly some things we got to improve on.
I would agree. There are a lot of positives. I thought there were a lot of really good things in training camp and preseason for the Saints. I thought the emergence of Kendre Miller as a pass catcher was something I was thrilled to see. I thought the play of some of the defensive linemen that you had brought in was encouraging. I thought Marshawn Lattimore had a brilliant start to camp. We'll see what the injury is, but I thought he had a really good start to camp, and I thought the battle between Alontae Taylor and Paulson Adebo was highly contested at a high level. I thought that was very, very good. I thought Trevor Penning staying healthy was good. Michael Thomas staying healthy was good. And I think that there's a lot of excitement about Derek Carr and what he could bring to the franchise. I thought Will Lutz was excellent, which was a really good thing to see. So you go into this thing as the betting favorite to win the division, and you feel like you've got a chance to make a push. I'm not sold on this team as being as good as Kansas City, being as good as Cincinnati or Buffalo. I'm not sold on them being as good as San Francisco or Philly. But I think that it's a solid football team that needs to win some of those 50-50 games late. You need to win the Bengals game from last year instead of letting Jamar Chase get loose for 60 yards late. You need to win that game in Tampa, not step out of bounds right before the first down marker. You need to win some of those 50-50 games and tilt that record 2 or 3 ticks up, and you ought to be in good shape. First things first, you got to cut the roster down to 53. We'll talk about that tomorrow when they get it done. And then you get ready for the Titans. But I thought it was a pretty solid training camp and preseason for the black and gold. Move forward starting tomorrow with your roster that you're set. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.